The cops were halfway up our driveway when my wife, still in pajama pants, lifted her badge with the kind of quiet authority that made grown men rethink their choices. One officer froze mid-step, his partner's hand hovering uncertainly, near his belt. And then there was Janet, the HOA Karen's jaw dropped so wide you'd think she'd just swallowed a bug. I'm going to need you to explain why you're trespassing on federal property, Dana said coolly. Her voice sliced through the morning air like ice. Janet stumbled back, her pastel cardigan fluttering like a white flag. Her voice cracked. Oh no. My name's Brian Teller. I'm a mechanical engineer who lives for quiet weekends, slow-smoked BBQ, and over-engineered gadgets nobody actually needs. 3 years ago, Dana and I bought what we thought was our forever home on Cypress Grove Lane. Big yard, no HOA. Close enough to town for groceries but far enough to avoid neighborhood drama. It was perfect, or at least we thought so when we signed the papers. Then came Janet Drybach, a one-woman storm wrapped in khakis and cardigans. She ruled the Cypress Grove HOA like a tyrant in a floral scarf. The twist? Our property wasn't even part of her HOA. It hadn't been for over 20 years, thanks to the original owner who fought tooth and nail to keep it that way. The records were ironclad. Our deed was crystal clear, but none of that mattered to Janet. To her, we were an eyesore on her perfectly curated kingdom. At first, it was just harmless nonsense, funny stories we'd laugh about at dinner. She showed up with a welcome packet no one asked for, stuffed with lawn maintenance rules, a list of approved mailbox colors, and, no joke, a VHS tape of a community orientation video from 1998. We actually found an old VCR at a garage sale just to watch it. It looked like something between a high school media project and a hostage video. But that was only the beginning. Soon, we started finding notes taped to our door, written in purple gel pen on fake HOA letterhead. Apparently, our mailbox wasn't the approved shade of beige. Our fire pit was an act of forward aggression, and my wife's unmarked government vehicle, suspicious activity. Dana laughed so hard she nearly snorted coffee. We ignored it. I'd wave when Janet marched down the street with her clipboard. Dana would smile sweetly and close the door mid-speech whenever Janet started one of her dramatic lectures on community standards. We figured she'd get bored eventually. She didn't. That's when Janet escalated. She began sliding fake HOA fines under our door, official-looking invoices with made-up penalties. $50 for excessive dandelions, $70 for unapproved bird feeders, $200 for aggressively non-neutral paint colors referring to our hunter, green front door, a color that had been there long before we moved in. Our shredder earned a permanent spot by the front door after that. Then came the voicemails. Every Saturday at 7 a.m. sharp, Janet's voice blared through the answering machine, warning us about emergency HOA meetings we were required to attend. She claimed our bird feeders were encouraging avian uprisings and said our garden gnomes were cultish and scaring young families. I tried being civil once, caught her on one of her morning power walks, politely explained that we weren't part of the HOA, even showed her the property records. I offered to grab coffee and settle it like adults. She responded by snapping a photo of my license plate and muttering about vehicle standard violations. Then came the day everything blew up. I'd taken a week off work to build a 2010 backyard shed, simple structure, fully permitted up to code, painted a neutral color. Dana was already dreaming about organizing her tools. I was halfway through framing when Janet showed up at the gate, her face an impressive shade of purple. She started yelling about unauthorized housing development and said she was calling in the big guns. I figured she meant her cousin with an online law degree. I was wrong. 2 police cruisers rolled up that quiet Tuesday morning. Janet strutted beside them like she was leading a SWAT operation, binder of bylaws in one hand, venti frappuccino in the other, chest puffed up with pure suburban self-importance. From the backyard, I could hear her dramatizing the situation, ranting about flagrant disregard for community standards and a dangerous construction project. I should have seen the storm coming. I walked around to the front, brushing sawdust off my hands, ready to show the officers my neatly laminated building permits. Before I could say a word, Dana stepped out. Pajama pants, old FBI Academy t-shirt, bed hair that said, "I've had worse mornings than this." She took one look at the scene, 2 patrol cars, a trembling Karen with a frappuccino and me looking confused, and sighed. A long, practiced sigh, then she reached for her badge. Special Agent Dana Teller, Department of Homeland Security, she announced, her tone calm and commanding. The air went still. The officers froze mid-step. Janet's hand shook so badly the whipped cream on her drink nearly launched off. Even the neighbors who'd been pretending to water their plants suddenly vanished indoors. Dana kept her voice steady. This is federal property. The shed you're so concerned about is a secure storage facility. Your presence here is interfering with a classified project. She wasn't exactly lying. It was a secure structure, and my attempts to organize the garage were basically a classified mission. The younger cop shifted uncomfortably. We might need to double-check jurisdiction on this, he mumbled. His partner nodded, already backing toward the car. We're gonna make some calls, he said, which is police code for we want no part of this. Janet stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing like a malfunctioning goldfish. She stammered something about sovereign neighborhood rights, which isn't even a real thing. But Dana was already one step ahead. Dana reached into the folder she'd brought from inside, pulled out a crisp legal document and handed it to Janet with a smile so polite it was almost terrifying. This, Dana said calmly, is a cease and desist letter from our legal department. Impersonating a regulatory authority and harassing federal employees on their property comes with interesting liability issues. I'd recommend you read it carefully. The letter was completely real, drafted by Dana's agency's legal team after she'd mentioned our HOA nightmare during a lunch break. Her colleagues thought it was hilarious and jumped at the chance to help. Turns out government lawyers love putting overreaching HOA presidents in their place. Janet's face went through colors like a broken traffic light. Red, then purple, then an unsettling shade of pale gray. Her hands shook as she scanned the legal language. Federal statute violation, potential criminal charges. Word spread through the neighborhood faster than a California wildfire. By that evening, Janet's phone was lighting up nonstop. The HOA board called an emergency meeting, which we knew about thanks to the parade of cars streaming toward her house. Every driver wore the same "oh no" expression. Our neighbor Tom, the HOA treasurer and self-proclaimed Janet survivor, filled us in later. The meeting was brutal. The board's actual lawyer, this time a real one, not Janet's cousin with an online degree, explained in painful detail how her actions had exposed the HOA to serious legal and financial risks. False reports, harassment, impersonating government officials, all ticking lawsuit bombs. The vote was unanimous. Janet was suspended from her position. Though, as Tom put it, the word temporary is doing some heavy lifting here. She was ordered to write formal apologies to us, the police department, and every single homeowner she'd ever falsely fined. The HOA's insurance company was particularly insistent on that last part, but Dana wasn't done. At the next community event, a summer barbecue at the park, she gave a presentation titled, Know Your Boundaries, Troyfer's Federal Sovereignty. She made it mandatory for all board members, but everyone was invited. She even handed out mini pocket constitutions and bookmarks printed with key property law statutes. Janet sat in the back near the potato salad, looking like she wanted to sink into the grass and disappear. When it was her turn, she had to stand up and publicly apologize for what the board called gross overreach of authority. Reading from a stiff, typed statement, she mumbled her deep regret in a voice so faint it could barely compete with the hum of the lemonade cooler. But the real sting came afterward. The HOA's insurance company hit her with a $5,000 deductible for the legal cleanup. Her false police report earned her a misdemeanor charge and $800 in fines. And the final blow? The board voted again, unanimously, to permanently remove her from her position. Tom told us she actually cried when they took away her gavel, clutching it like a life preserver as security escorted her out. For the first time since we'd moved in, Cypress Grove Lane was quiet, and it was glorious.